Our podcast is a part of the World Podcast Network, now with over 1,000 podcasts. Visit the World Podcast Network at worldpodcast.network to listen to podcasts in over 12 genres. Come vote our podcast episodes up and help us rise on the leaderboard. If you have a podcast of your own, you can join for free. Hey everybody, welcome to Reality Tea Times 2. So this episode we're going to be talking about Below Deck. As promised, there is going to be a guest on this episode. So we're actually going to be talking about Below Deck, generally speaking, in the first half of the episode, only because our guest, which is Kelda Music, didn't actually watch the episode for the Monday night's episode, so I didn't want to spoil her or anything. So we kind of just generally talked about this season so far, up until last night's episode, or Monday night's episode. You're probably getting this on a Wednesday. And so yeah, it's going to be generally speaking about Below Deck in the beginning half of the episode, and then we'll be doing the recap of the episode in the second half. So I'm going to put you into the first half of the episode with our guest, and then stay tuned for the recap at the end of the interview aspect of it with Kelda Music. Okay, so as promised, I have a guest here with me to talk Below Deck Med, and that is Kelda Music. Do you want to?
Hello.
How are you doing?
I am wonderful, Tanika. How are you?
I'm good. Ready,
Yes.
ready to talk the mess that is Below Deck Med this season.
All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so we're not going to be recapping last night's episode, recording this on Tuesday. We're not going to be talking about that episode. I'll do that separately, but we're just kind of just talk generally about the show. So kind of I guess like the main thing that's been this season is the drama between Bree and Ellie. What do you
Mhm.
think about that? Whose side are you on? Are you frustrated by it all? Where are you at?
Oh man, it's hard to choose sides. You know what I mean? Like, there's always gonna be some kind of drama on Below Deck behind the scenes, and
Yeah.
so it's no better than like some of these other reality shows, but Below Deck, it's like more interesting watching them argue and fight because it's like they're on a ship. They're on a boat.
Yes, they are confined to one space.
Right, yeah. And so I have to admit though, like my favorite character of all time of Below Deck has to be Kate.
Okay, yeah, Kate Chastain.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
so
really
that's
cool.
that's before my time with Below Deck Med, like Below Deck and just in general. It is a plan of mine to
Yeah.
kind of go back and watch some of those older seasons.
Hmm.
So I kind of started, I think, with the show. It was Below Deck Med, and it was maybe what season around 9? I think it's season 5 or 6.
Hmm.
So I kind of missed Kate, unfortunately. I heard she's incredible. So I need to go back and watch her. But so
Yeah.
I don't have much I can really say, unfortunately, because I just haven't seen her. Um, but I think like for me, probably my all-time favorites is I love Aesha. I think it's just her voice, her accent is everything, and just how I don't know. There's something about her that I just love. And I
Yeah.
feel bad for her having to tackle this mess.
Right, right. Yeah. And you could tell like she does not want to be involved in any of this whatsoever, but
No.
it's kind of like part of it's part of how the show is structured, and the fact that everybody is, like you said, confined to being on a boat.
Hmm.
You have no choice but to kind of hate each other at one point.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for me with Ellie, I didn't particularly like her previous season. I mean, I know she came in kind of partway through the last season that she was on, but I didn't really like her then. I really don't like her now. And
Yeah.
I I hate seeing women fighting over a guy,
Yeah.
a guy that's just, my honest opinion, not really worth it.
Right. Right.
So I'm just like, ladies, like we're fighting over this. I mean, I've seen hotter guys on below deck than this guy. And like we're just fighting over him. Like at the end of the day, he's a single guy. If he wants to hook up
Hmm.
with Bree one night, go for it, I guess. If he wants to hook up with Ellie the next night, go for it, I guess. And it doesn't have to be this fight, but with Ellie, I feel like she's on a power trip, and I think that's the part that I don't like, is that she's taking her personal feelings and applying it to the work.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, that's not right. And that's not okay. I personally don't even think Ellie should be a second stew at this point. I've seen Chief Stews say you're on the same level playing field because Ellie was pretty green her first season. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
over it, honestly, with the
Yeah.
drama. But yeah.
No, for sure. Like it's gonna last all season. I just hope it doesn't drag on to the next season when they're both working together, or
Yeah.
um or if there is like a new crew and Bree tries to project her feelings about Ellie onto the new cast and crew, and now they think differently of her without even knowing her. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
totally
that's the
agree with
part of
you.
it, yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think Bree's getting rehired anyways. I mean,
She blew it.
unfortunately for her, I mean, she seems to be good in some aspects, but I mean, laundry, I mean, I know it's different on a boat than just doing laundry, personally at home, but it's like you can't even grasp a little bit of the concept of laundry. Make sure you're not screwing up who's getting what. And we kind of see with Captain Sandy that she's constantly giving her the wrong clothes. And
Yeah.
that's going to
Yeah.
piss her off. So
Right.
I think for those reasons, like I don't see her being rehired in the future.
No.
Honestly, I can see her potentially being fired. Like that's no spoilers. I'm just assuming I'm thinking she's probably getting fired at some point because this is ridiculous. We're on charter 5 or 6 at this point, and you have not grasped the concept of
Right. Right.
laundry.
Exactly. And it's kind of just like, okay, if you haven't grasped onto the idea of laundry, okay, how were you raised?
That's what
Where-
I'm saying. I feel like
you know
she
what I mean?
mentioned she was born kind of with a silver spoon in her mouth, but
Hmm.
I can't really recall that. But we've seen people who, like, even last season with Barbie, she comes from a wealthy family. And even she had better work ethic and seemed to grasp everything better than Brie is. I don't know what's going
Yeah.
on with
Yeah.
her.
Yeah. It's
Um,
just like you said, she was raised with a silver spoon in her mouth, and so it's kind of like nothing else matters but her. You know what I mean? Like kind of like self-centered and spoiled at the same time, but worse, because like no one else's feelings matter. However someone else feels about um something, it's kind of like it's all about her. You know what I mean?
yeah, no,
So
I definitely see that as well. And I think unfortunately for her, she just doesn't know how to work with people. I think she went to a boarding school in South Africa. I think she's from South Africa. And I think
uh,
like she just maybe doesn't really know how to deal with people of the same sex as well. Like girls can be mean,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I think she just doesn't have the social skills to deal with other women.
right. She's definitely not a girl's girl.
She is not. Because at the end of the day, like I don't care that she hooked up with Joe, but it's like you did know that Ellie kind of had a thing for him. So you kind
Yeah.
of broke girl code a little bit, um,
Yeah.
because you may not necessarily be friends, but you are rooming together. You have to work together.
Right.
You have to live
Yeah.
together. So it's like maybe don't break girl code
And
under these
it's funny though,
circumstances.
like whenever like we think of girl code, we always think of, okay, well, you're my friend, you know?
Yeah.
So it should be like it should be friend code or girl code. And in this
Yeah.
case, I would say, yeah, it's girl code. It's not friend code
Right.
because they're not really friends. They just have to bunk together and work together or
Yeah.
whatever. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of like, in a way, Bree doesn't owe Aisha an explanation. However, if we turn the tables and if a guy were to do this, immediately guys would, go at each other. Like, what the hell, dude? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
That's
but
that's that's the
yeah,
thing. Yeah. And I think like I don't know. I think it's also just having common decency. I mean, you don't know how Ellie's going to react to it. I don't think she necessarily expected her to react this way, but at the very
right.
least, she's going to have her feelings hurt. And why would you want to do that to her, I guess?
Yeah, and Ellie, she's such like she's a sensitive person, you know what I mean?
She
And
is.
I feel people take her kindness for weakness and kind of like, walk all over her sometimes. And so Um, I don't blame her for being upset, especially when she knows that Bree knows that, she likes the guy. But, at the same time, it's like, okay, now you know who Bree is. You know what kind of female she is. You know, she doesn't care about anyone's feelings but her own. And it's gonna be hard to get over, but again, it's not it's not friend code, so she was never your friend anyway. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah,
you almost have to look at it as, okay, you guys were together before him and I hooked up, and I don't know who you are, so you might as well be an ex-girlfriend or ex-fling or whatever.
right.
But it still sucks to know that you're working with someone who's like, you know, gushing over the same guy that you are and who's willing to move forward. Like, ouch.
Yeah. And it really honestly says something about him too. And we kind of see this. I mean, I know we can't really talk about him anymore, but we've seen it about with Gary as well on Sailing
Mhm.
Yacht, where it's like you always have these guys that like fine, you're into the girls and interior, but you when you're trying to he's kind of like a Gary, where he's kind of infiltrating interior and kind of messing up the dynamic between them because he's going after both of them. And
Yeah,
that's screwing
yeah,
things up for Aisha. So it's just, I don't know why men are like that on the show. I mean, like Gary's a
yeah,
totally different example. He's gross, but I don't know why men do this.
yeah.
Actually, no, I
That
do
case
know why
sucks.
men do this.
Right, right. And it really sucks because Aisha does have feelings for him, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. You know what I mean? She could even hate him right now, but it doesn't mean that, she doesn't have feelings for him anymore. It's just like, oh my God, why did you do that? You know,
Yeah,
and that's why like you have to put the blame on both of them equally because they both know what they're doing.
right.
And if they are the kind of people that are like that, then it's almost like you got to work on getting over it because now those two people have showed their colors to you.
Right.
And
Right.
and obviously they have feelings for each other, even if it was just a one night stand or whatever, they still had some kind of attraction towards each other, something that, over he's had over Bree, and not so much Aisha in a way. So it's almost like, oh my gosh, you kind of got to let it go after a while. He messed up.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Um, I guess then we can kind of switch topics and kind of talk about exterior a little bit because they have their own kind of drama going on a little bit here too. Um, and it's kind of mainly this weird relationship that's kind of been going on between Gail and Nathan, and
Yeah.
also her boyfriend.
Ouch. Yeah.
Her boyfriend is what I like to call a stage five clinger and also just manipulative. And
Yeah.
they both met each other on a boat, yet he can't grasp the concept that maybe she's busy and can't talk to you 24/7.
Right, right, right. I mean, she's working. She's there for a reason, you know what I mean? And
Exactly.
like anything else that happens on the side, that's just like it's a luxury, you know? It's not supposed to happen. It's not gonna guarantee to happen again, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know what he expects from her more than, what they're there for.
Yeah. And like even with the last week's episode where he's literally telling her, "Oh, you don't talk to me. When I talk to you, you don't talk to me." And there's literally proof of all the times where she's calling him, texting him. And it's like, what more do you want her to do? And if it's about your insecurities, then my guy needs to figure that out because that's not her problem.
Right. And it's kind of funny too. Like you get to see the side of a man being clingy and um being needy in a
Yeah,
way, and not just females, you know?
exactly. I mean, men have
So
always been clingy and needy. I mean,
right,
that's
right.
always been the case, but it's just never been seen like this. I mean, I tend to avoid them like the plague because I don't have patience for that. Um, I kind of need to be on my own space, my man be on his own space, and we'll figure it out. But this is just the kind of the level of like when you're seeing her cry and just feeling like in a sense, he's kind of gaslighting her, kind of making her feel like she's going crazy, like I'm not doing enough, but she's doing what she can.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly, exactly. And and the thing is, like, if she continues to focus her attention more on him, then it's like, what are you here for? You know what I mean? Just
Exactly.
to be on FaceTime with your guy and talk to him half the time and not do your job. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Which we have seen on below deck down under, and that girl got fired. So, like, you obviously
yeah,
don't want to do that. She's very passionate about this job. And like he should be supporting her, especially as a person who's also worked on boats. Like he should be
right.
supportive, and he's
Exactly.
not.
He should be giving her advice and like, okay, the lovey-dovey stuff, that's fine or whatever, but they really need to talk about bettering their work ethic, or just, hey, what's going on the boat today? Blah blah. Oh, well, you should do this, do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, to keep Captain Sandy light on her feet. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And not worry about all this other stuff. I mean, she's talking to you every day. She's giving you her work time, and and instead of working, she's giving you her personal time. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
be appreciative of that.
Yeah. Be happy that you're getting something out of her. But I'll play devil's advocate. Maybe he's sensing something is going on, which in his defense, I mean, it kind of is. But at the same time, it's like you don't really have the proof of that. And
Right.
you kind of have to wait it out. It's being filmed. And if anything
Yeah.
comes out that you're like, what the hell, which obviously it does, then you address it. But you
Exactly.
can't, it's just like I mean, from my experience, if I sense men are cheating on me, I don't accuse them of cheating. I wait and I stew and I wait
Yeah.
for the opportunity where I get the evidence. And I'm like, okay, so you're
Yeah.
cheating on me and here's the evidence. You
Yeah.
can't do this because then you look more crazy than she is. Well, I'm not
Exactly.
even
And
saying
then
she's crazy,
yeah.
but like, yeah,
Right. And it's also a major sign of insecurity.
yeah,
And no one wants to deal with that. You know what I
nope,
mean?
nope,
And it, like you said, it's just, you kind of have to take it day by day, collect evidence or whatever, like be a spy if you have to, but don't
yeah,
just outright, accuse that person of cheating just to find out later he wasn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or he was spending time with his boys, or he's working, he really is working overtime. He's, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And I mean, again, in his defense, clearly something's going on between her and Nathan, which,
Right.
I mean, on the one hand, I'm happy for her finding some sort of comfort or something in Nathan. But at the same time, it's like, girl, deal with the one thing and then go to the next thing. Like, close the one chapter first and then go on to the next. Um,
Right.
because you're, as much as like he's making himself look like shit,
Hmm.
you're also kind of making yourself look not so great either.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I don't know. And acting, I think it was last week's episode where they're like, well, there's no cameras, and he literally stares at a camera, and it's like, my guy, you're on a below deck show. Assume there's always cameras, except for in the
Heck
bathrooms.
yeah. Heck yeah. Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
these cameras have caught people having sex, my guy. There's always camera.
Hello. You've caught the guests having sex.
Yeah.
You've caught the crew having sex
Yes.
with the guests. So
Like
yeah.
there's always cameras on that boat.
Yeah. You're
Oh man.
definitely under surveillance the whole time.
Like I wonder if he's like, oh, there's no like camera crew, so they're good. There's hidden cameras. Have you not watched a reality show ever? There's always hidden cameras.
Always. And even and even if it's not just hitting cameras, okay, there's hidden mics so we can
Yes,
pick up the audio. You know what I
yes.
mean? And when we capture all of that, we're just gonna put the captions on TV
Mm-mm.
and let the world know what was being discussed if we can't see you. So
Yeah,
you're always gonna be watched.
always,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
Like as I just so dumb. But anyway, okay. The other thing too that I kind of want to discuss with you is Jono.
Uh-huh.
What do you think about Jono, just generally speaking, as a chef, as a person?
I believe like there's gonna be difficult times, there's gonna be great times, there's gonna be moments where the food's just not hitting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, I think Jono just kind of needs to understand um what his role is and just embrace it and do the best that he can and not put the blame on anyone else.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like with okay, I like Jono as a person. I really do. I
Mhm.
think he's fun. I think like he's a breath of fresh air. I think he's great. As a chef, I mean, he's been picking it up in the last few charters, but I mean, like the whole cold egg situation, I'm watching you cook eggs. And again, you don't have to be a chef to have common sense that eggs go cold within minutes,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
have eggs just sitting there for an hour waiting for these people
Um,
to get up. And you cover them with this cloth that I don't know where you got this cloth from, where it was before. And you're just putting it on these eggs and hoping they stay warm. I don't understand the concept.
that's where you kind of have to question where did he get his culinary skills from?
He
Because,
didn't. He went to architecture school.
oh my God, wow,
Yeah,
wow.
that's the thing. Like he's not a trained chef. So
And then not only that, like people know, like that's common sense with eggs.
that's what I'm
You know what I mean?
saying. Yeah.
Like, unless we're talking about hard boiled eggs, you cannot leave eggs out. Like, you cannot,
No.
if they're already cooked, you know what I mean? You cannot do that. That's just,
It's not like
oh
you're
gosh.
walking into a breakfast place where they have like serve yourself like buffet thing. And
Right,
like you're just
right.
having like cold eggs just sitting there, which by the way, I don't touch. But like it's not like that. You should be cooking to order. Like I don't know what you're doing here. That was a miss. And
Like
then,
I would rather when I show up to a restaurant, I would rather my food to be delivered to me late than
yes,
to already come to it and there's an issue.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's like, Jono, why would you want that kind of issue? We're talking about freaking eggs here,
Eggs,
like
scrambled eggs.
scrambled eggs. Oh my God.
And and then like the other thing too is like he has like the decomposed cake that was just like this how he plated it just basically looked like oh like something that I would do because the cake's gonna fall apart because I'm not a baker. And that's like what he does. And I'm just like, what the hell are you doing? And he's had meat that looks like real dead. Like you obviously want your meat to be dead but down. And
Right.
I just I don't know. And like seasoning choices is I'm like, what is happening here? And then
He's
he
not a chef.
he's
He's not
not
a
a
trained
chef.
chef.
No. And then when you have preferences and you're gonna have multiple different people want like one person don't want eggs, one person doesn't
Right.
want, whatever. And it's just like,
Hmm.
you know, you have to just make maybe multiple different things.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, you're feeding people, and
Yeah.
this is what they put in their bodies. And we all have to be cautious of what we put in our bodies. And for him to kind of just like make these mistakes, mismanage, not care. Because, like you said, people have food allergies. People are vegan, vegetarian, or pescatarian. You know what I mean? You have to respect what people's tastes are. And that's what a chef is being versatile, being flexible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you could go to a fast food, if you could go to McDonald's and say, hey, I want a cheeseburger, but, no onions, no pickles, McDonald's will do that for you. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
and but I'm a guest on this boat and I'm paying $10,000 in tips and stuff. You better freaking cook my food the way I want it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And he should be
yeah,
able to cook multiple different like meats depending or seafood or whatever depending on what each person may want. Yes, it's overwhelming, but that's what you have to do. I mean, you've had Chef Marcus from previous season do a 10-course meal.
yeah,
You've had him have to do like that weird sciencey food thing. He did that too. And it's like you can't just give some one person chicken and maybe give the other person, I don't know, lobster. Like
yeah,
it's not that difficult, but
yeah.
anyway.
But once again, that's something that a trained chef who went to culinary school should know or
Exactly.
would know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he even makes like this, not like spoiling too much, but he even makes a comment in this episode about like doing desserts and how like that's something that you learn in culinary school, but clearly I skipped that step. So we're gonna have to figure this out. And I'm like, how are you on this boat? Who hired you? Uh,
Probably one of the casting directors that obviously
yeah,
wanted to see some drama
yeah. We just have to
to
have
add more
because the
drama.
gays are fun, which I agree, but at the same time, it's like, okay, but at least have someone who's of the community who can at least do the job. There has to
Right,
be
because you know
someone
what?
else.
He's messing up the tips for them at the end of the day.
Yeah,
And as a charter guest, they're gonna if you're receiving less tips, they're gonna blame it on him, but
yeah,
it's gonna be everyone else's problem, which is unfair. And
exactly.
because I've seen episodes all the time where the chef fucks everything up, and now instead of 15,000 in tips, they're only getting 7,000,
Yeah.
and everybody else has put in their hard work and they've done their job, but the chef was lacking, and now it's everybody else's problem,
Yeah, because the
including
food
the
and the
captain.
drinks are the most important part of the experience. So if you're screwing
Exactly.
that up, and in this case, you have foods being screwed up, you have Ellie not being able to make drinks either. Seen that a couple times. And it's just like, you're gonna get shitty tips.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I want to see one episode where there's no tip given at all, where the charter guest is extremely irate, and if anything, they say, "I want my money back for being on this show, for being on this boat, everything." You know?
We've had like we never had a person like or a group not get a tip, but we have seen a charter guest say, I'm not contributing to the tips because I didn't like the experience. I think that happened last season or maybe 2 seasons ago. I can't remember which iteration, but it did happen where someone's like, I'm not contributing. And like the
Wow.
other guests were so embarrassed because they had to contribute more in order to give them a decent tip.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Yeah, so that
that's
has
tough.
happened in that sense, but it's just like I don't know.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, you
Yeah.
know? And he's not thinking about it from the guest's perspective. Like, this
No.
is why, like you said, why we are here, you know? So, yeah, I really, really think they cast him for that aspect of the show to show the chef fucking up.
Seriously, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I've always kind of had this prediction that they are going to fire him and bring Dave back. Remember
Mhm.
Dave from the whole Natasha situation? Because, like, even though he had a lot of this drama going on with Natasha, his food was incredible. And I always had like this weird thing that he's going to come back because, again, with Captain Sandy getting married on Mystique, Dave was the chef.
Right, right,
And
right.
I've always had like, he's coming back. But then, like, you kind of see Jono kind of picking it back up and doing really well. I'm like, oh, maybe not. And
Hmm.
I'm still kind of that, like, something's going to screw up. He's going to screw something up. And Sandy's gonna have enough and be like, no, you're fired. And then bring Dave back. Like I've always felt that that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and Dave's more professional, and like you
Yes.
said, he's a real chef. You
He's
know
a
what I
real
mean? Like,
chef.
you could see it in his personality. You know,
Yeah.
he's serious about what he does, and he would be highly insulted if someone didn't like a certain dish or if he didn't get it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where whereas freaking Jono's just like, okay, well, what's your problem? It's
Yeah.
not my
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. It's so what if he put this really odd seasoning in this meal? Who cares? And like admitting that, oh, I Googled this recipe and it's like, my guy, don't admit that you Googled
Yeah.
something. You're a chef.
Yeah. Oh my. And,
It's
and,
supposed to
and it's
be.
so funny. Like, it's one thing to be a bartender and you Google a drink because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's alcohol, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're not gonna go wrong with it except for put maybe too much alcohol or too much juice, but we can make another one. But with food, wrong seasoning or
It's
just
done.
something I'm allergic to, it's a done deal. It's
It's
over.
done. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
edible. It's not enjoyable. It's, yeah,
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. So hopefully he won't be on for too long. And
I don't
Captain
think
Sandy,
so.
yeah, Captain, and that right there will be the major like climax of the show. Watching him get let go and boo-hooing afterwards, or cussing people out. Who knows?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else that you want to mention?
Yes, for all you Below Deck TV reality fans, I want you guys to also tune into my talk show called Diva Talk Tonight, which is on Tubi. And you'll get to see all the guests I've interviewed. And then I have a podcast as well, and we need to get you on there. And that one's
Oh,
called
yeah.
Diva Talk, the podcast. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that.
yeah. So, Kel the music, I enjoyed myself, and this has been awesome.
This has been a lot of fun. Do you have any socials you want to plug as well?
Yeah, actually, if you guys just go to my website, keldamusic.com, KELDAMUZIK.com, you'll find all my socials. You'll find my latest music, videos, uh, TV, film projects, fashion. I have the Thames berets. Make sure you guys go on the website and purchase one. And yeah, that's it.
And I'll definitely put that website in the show notes so that everyone can get to it easily.
Sounds good.
Great. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on my podcast. Okay, so here we are with the recap aspect of the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed the first half of the episode. I really did have a lot of fun having her on talking about this episode. And again, thank you to Kelda Music for coming on and talking Below Deck Med with me. Again, she did mention her website in the episode, so definitely go down to the show notes. I will have a link to her website there. So let's get into the recap of this most recent episode. So we kind of start back again with the whole Ellie, and Bree and Captain Sandy conversation, and she's just blubbering. Ellie is kind of saying, I've been behaving respectfully, and, I will leave today if, I have to, but I've been doing this. My girl, you haven't been behaving respectfully to Bree. Anyways, you've been lying about her. You've been having a power trip. And not only that, but you may or may not be sabotaging Bree. I don't know yet. So you have definitely had a little bit of an issue, at least where Bree is concerned. And Captain Sunny's just like, listen, we're not firing anybody right now. Just be nice to each other. I don't think that's too hard to ask. And she's like, my head should be nowhere near the chopping block because, I've been doing my job well. Well, maybe not. And we'll kind of see that a little later. But, and Captain Sandy basically asks Aesha, are they rooming together? Are they bunking together? Yes, Captain Sandy, yes, they are. And she basically says, split them up. So that's what's going to happen. Basically, they're going to put a Bree with Aesha and Gail with Ellie. And I think, how has this not happened already? It's, these two have been bickering. And I mean, I think at the point where Bree isn't sleeping in the room is an indication that maybe this is an uncomfortable situation. Don't know how this took so long, but anyways. So we're kind of, just so everyone's aware, we are kind of going in order. So I was planning to talk about the episode with Kelda Music. So in case you're wondering, is this different? Because I'm actually going off of notes. And then Joe is kind of, we see later on, they're kind of setting up this slumber party situation for the guests. And Joe's on the piano again, singing a song, but this time the song is about, well, I've had Bree and I've had Ellie. Which one should I go for? I've had one. Maybe I could have the Ellie. It's the weirdest fucking thing and it's totally disrespectful. What he doesn't realize is Ellie is there hearing the whole thing. And when she gets up, he's like, oh shit. He's like, I didn't know. Later on, we'll kind of see him kind of saying oh, I didn't know you were there. And it's like, okay, but so if she wasn't there, it's appropriate? What the hell, my guy? Anyway. We also see here kind of what I've noticed where she's like, oh, my head should not be on a chopping block. I do a good job at my job. She can't make drinks. We see her making, I think it's a porn star, and she doesn't do it, I guess, as good as Aesha does. And she's like, with Second Stew, I should be able to trust you do decorating. You do drinks. I should be able to trust that you can do those things, but you can't. And we've seen her before, she doesn't decorate the table when it needs to be done. She's not doing great drinks, or when she does do drinks, she's flustered as hell and can't actually do the drinks. She's not good at her job. But anyway, and then the other thing that kind of happened here is Captain Sandy is kind of over the bullshit with the deck crew at this point, which again, we've seen many times. This next thing is, so one of the guests at 7:30 in the morning decides that she wants to have a dip in the jacuzzi, which, why? But anyway, she decides she wants to do that. And I guess the hot water valve was left open or on, I don't know. And it should have been closed. That way it's not wasting the hot water and it was wasting the hot water because it was left open. And I think it was Ivan who noticed it. And he goes to Captain Sandy and he's like, someone left the hot water valve on for the jacuzzi. And Captain Sandy loses it. She's like, this is rookie mistakes and this shouldn't be happening on the fifth charter. And she talks to Ian and Ian's like, well, I mean, I don't know. But then it does, I think it was Ian and Nathan. But if you remember, if for those who watched the episode, Nathan and Gail were the ones that dealt with it, and then Gail went to bed. So Gail technically was the one actually who left it on and didn't turn it off. But Nathan basically takes the heat of it because obviously he's feeling Gail and he doesn't want, want to protect Gail. And then Ian goes and talks to the whole deck crew and says, listen, your shit that you guys screw up on comes back on me, obviously, because he's bosun. And like, this has to kind of stop. And Nathan kind of says, like, I'll take the heat. I mean, Gal's there too, but I'll take the heat because, like, again, he wants to protect her. But Joe's like, the fuck you say? Like, if she's screwing up, she's screwing up. Like, just because you're feeling her doesn't mean you should be taking her shit on too. Like, we all are responsible for the mistakes we make. So it kind of puts a bad taste in his mouth. So I'll kind of finish this part of it up. Later on, when like the charter is done and they go out or whatever, and she kind of was like having a little bit of a bad attitude. I'll turn the boat around and whatever. But then they finally do talk it out because what happens is when Gail finds all of this out, she does go to Captain Sandy and says, it was my fault. I'm sorry. And she's like terrified. And Captain Sandy's like, why are you scared? Like, it's fine. And she loves that she's taken accountability and wishes that Ian would do the same. But he doesn't. And she basically talks to Joe about it, I guess because of that weird thing between them. And she's like, I took accountability. Like, I want you to know that, like, whatever Nathan chose to do, like, that's not on me. Like, I'm not someone who's going to let someone take the heat for me. And he's like, oh, I didn't know that. And they figure it out, whatever. But yeah, I don't know why Nathan feels he has to do that because it's like, I get you're feeling her, but work is work. And if she made a mistake, she made a mistake and she needs to own up to it. And yeah, anyway. So yeah, we're kind of done with that part. We do see Bree going to deal with the laundry at one point, but she's like, is this how I left it? And there's like mistakes everywhere. She's like, did I leave it like this or did Ellie leave it like this? Like, she's very confused. And she does go to Ellie and says, please don't touch laundry. I'm trying to be respectful as possible, but please don't touch laundry. And she's like, okay. And then she goes to Aesha and she's like, listen, I just told Ellie not to touch laundry because she's screwing things up. And it kind of felt like she's emotional. Why? I don't know. But she's like, I told her like not to touch it because like she's screwing things up or I am not like being able to keep track of what's going on. And Aisha's like, yeah, but if I tell Ellie to go do the laundry because you might be on break and she does nothing else for her to do, like I'm gonna do that. And she's like, but I don't want her touching laundry. Girl, Bree, honey, that's not up to you. And Aisha says as much. She's like, I run this boat. The interior. I run it. So it's my decision. You don't get to make that decision. Like, that was kind of bold and not in a good way, you know? But yeah, so we kind of deal with that. Charter guests are gone. Everyone was happy. We had a tip of 21,500. Great. And it's gonna be, you know, a break day. Yay. Because, we always have those moments in the show where the owner of the ship lets you, or yacht, lets you have the day off and rewind and relax and all of that. So that's what we're going to be doing. Then it's brought up to Bree on the way to dinner that the whole piano thing, 'cause I don't think she knew about it before. And she's like, listen, Ellie rubs me the wrong way, but that's cringy. I feel bad for her kind of hearing that. And then later on, well, I think the next morning, actually, they end up talking about what happened with Joe and like connecting on the fact that this guy's gross. I loved it. See, ladies come together, you know? Don't let these men get to us. What the fuck? But yeah, just like gross. And Bree's like, I don't want to be anywhere near him. And Ellie's kind of like, I won't talk to him unless he apologizes, which I think, set those ground rules because, like, it was weird. It was so immature of him. Like, women are not conquest for you, sir. Anyway, but they do see eventually, I think, they kind of have fun, look at the history, then they go down to this beach and they're eating. And he kind of says, like, oh, I can kind of see, like, Ellie, like, you're upset with me. And she's like, yeah, it's kind of bullshit. And he does apologize to her. She does accept his apology. So I guess we'll kind of see how that turns out for them. I think things are going to be hooked up in a little bit because I think we're getting a new stew very soon. And then we see I think it was, who was it? Someone said to Ian, oh, Ellie said to Ian, like, I love the South African Speedo. And I'm like, all right, that's a choice. A choice that I don't know if I can get behind. I mean, I'm all about the South African flag, obviously, but it's just choices were made. And then Captain Sandy, we see later on, like while we're getting ready to do the next charter, um, notices that she's missing another shirt. I think it's a white shirt. And she kind of says, to her, like, here we go again type situation, right? And then I think it was sent over the walkies, but Aesha ends up going to her and says, listen, like, enough's enough. You should be able to figure out laundry at this point. And she says, if you keep making mistakes like this, I might not have a choice but to let you go. And that's basically where we end the episode. So, I mean, again, I don't know what's going to happen if we're going to have a 4-stew ship like we've had in the past at the ship, or if we are going to basically have have like let go of Bree and then have this new stew coming in. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I predict that we're going to, I don't know. I, mm, hmm. Brie obviously stays long enough for us to see her at the end of another charter. So I guess we'll see. But, maybe she gets her shit together. I don't know. I suspect we're going to get the shit together and bring on a new additional stew. But I do predict that Jono is going to be let go. Only because of what we see next week, where he's screwing up again. So I guess we'll see how that goes. But that is it for this episode. Again, thank you so much to Keldon Music for coming on and talking Below Deck with me. Or just, we did kind of talk about other Below Decks very briefly, but yeah, I enjoyed that conversation. So again, if you're interested in seeing more from her, you can go down to the show notes where her website will be linked and you can go take a look at everything she has to offer. But with that said, that is it for this episode. So if you like what you heard, please rate, review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, don't forget that you can also share us with everyone in your life if you really love this. And I do want to read those reviews. I'm definitely getting 5-star ratings, but I want to read those reviews. So send me those reviews and I will read those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. Also, we're on every one of your favorite podcast apps. Every one of them, including you can find us on YouTube at Reality Tea Times 2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality Tea Times 2. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality Tea Times 2 Pod. We also have our email, which is at realityteatimes2 at hotmail.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And we also have our new website where you can listen to all of these episodes. You can review the podcast on there as well. You can connect with me in any way, all the stuff. It's all there, and you can find me there at www.realityteatimes2, all spelled out, .podpage.io. It's there. And don't forget, I also have my other podcast with my friend Mikkel, Next Take Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of different topics. But you can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. Or you can also go to YouTube, and you go to Next Take Podcast, as well as our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. So yeah, there's that, and that's basically that. And again, don't forget, if all of this information is overwhelming, we do have all of the links, everything in our show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks.